stage when the photos are.
Jeff's not getting noise.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this meeting of Devonport City Council. It's Monday, the 21st of December, and it's 5:30. Council acknowledges and pays respects to the Tasmanian Aboriginal community as the traditional and original owners and continuing custodians of this land. All persons in attendance are advised that it's council policy to record council meetings in accordance with council's digital recording policy. The digital recording of this meeting will be made available to the public on council's website for a minimum period of 6 months, and a reminder that we are live streaming this meeting. Item 1 on the agenda is apologies, and we have a full complement of councillors, so there are none to record. Item 2 is declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest in any item in this open agenda, please?
Yes, you do, Mayor. Item 5.3.
5.3, thank you, Councillor Murphy.
Are you asking for separate nominations for the closed meeting?
I'll do that in close, thank you. Any other declarations of interest in the open section of the agenda? No? Thank you. Item 3.1.1 is confirmation of the minutes of the council meeting of the 23rd of November. Can I have a move?
So moved.
Councillor Perry.
Seconded.
Councillor Murphy, thank you. Councillor Perry.
Merely procedural, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Murphy.
Nothing further, Mayor.
Any other comments, questions? Councillor Perry to close.
Consider it closed.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any against? Motion's carried unanimously. Item 3.2 is public question time, and item 3.2.1 is responses to questions raised at prior meetings. Do I have a mover, please?
You do.
Councillor Laycock, thank you. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second.
Councillor Milborn, thank you. Councillor Laycock.
Nothing to add.
Councillor Milborn.
Nothing better.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Councillor Laycock to close.
Consider it closed.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any against? Motion's carried unanimously. Item 3.2.2 is questions on notice from the public. Do I have a mover of the recommendation, please?
So moved.
Councillor Hollister, thank you. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Councillor Perry, thank you. Councillor Hollister?
Thank you, that's all in the report.
Thank you. Councillor Perry?
Questions have been answered adequately. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Councillor Hollister to close.
Consider it closed.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any against? Motion's carried unanimously. Item 3.2.3 is questions without notice from the public. Opportunity for members of the gallery to ask questions of council. would like to step forward, stating your name and address and addressing the council if you have any questions without notice. Mr. Russell?
Rodney Russell, 225 Steel Street, Devonport. I see that our road contracts usually have a line item in Table 2, which is Project Design, Management and Administration. Could you briefly explain the object of this line, please?
Table 2 on what page, Mr.
Oh,
Russell?
no, sorry. It's not necessarily today's, it's usually in road contracts. And I don't, there's no road contract in this one today. It has previous ones. Do I need to explain a little bit further?
I'm not really quite sure what
Okay.
it is you're...
I'll do it another time, okay?
Okay, thank you. Perhaps if you put it in writing and then have the opportunity to follow it up if we need to.
Okay,
That'd be great, thank you. Did you have another question?
2 more.
Go ahead.
Thursday, the 17th of December at approximately 2 p.m, I see you had a Taswater meeting in this particular room. Could you tell me briefly the reason for the meeting, who provided the afternoon tea, and who paid for the afternoon tea?
The meeting was Taswater's regular report to reps, if I remember. Taswater?
Yeah. Approximately.
Or just this?
Through you, Mayor.
Approximately 2 o'clock.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. There hasn't been any owners' reps Taswater meetings in the building in the last few weeks. So I'm only guessing it's most likely just a meeting that Taswater have hired our facility for.
Okay. So they provide the refreshments and they paid for them.
That's right. If that's what the meeting was, it would just be a room hire and they would be paying the normal fee and would be paying for any catering, just like any other user. And it's not unusual for groups like that or organisations like that to book our rooms in our building.
I understand it's right, quite right. I must have just read your screen up there. Question 3. I see where Libby Bingham did an excellent report in the Advocate on the discovery of a missing painting found during the recent COVID-19 shutdown audit. Would it be possible for you to get Libby to do an equal report on the missing items belonging to the Sister City collection, which were also found, I believe, early this year during the same audit?
We could ask Mr. Russell. Ms. Bingham has her own plans around what she prints, but certainly it was great to rediscover those.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from you? No? Oh, Mr. Bell.
Well, firstly, Mayor, if I may, I just wish you all a very happy Christmas as I get the opportunity again, and I look forward to a prosperous new year next year. Thank you. Mayor, just some simple questions there in regards as to this day. Are all the Providore Place tenants up to date with their hire and or rental payments as required?
I have to take that on notice, Mr. Bell. Thank you.
Thank you. The other one is in reference to 5.4, the annual general meeting guidelines attachments 541. Mayor, I respectfully ask, have you carefully analysed all the listed guidelines or decrees that you will be voting on tonight to ensure that you won't be hoisted by your own petard? Be presumptuous there, but
I'm taking that as advice. Thank you, Mr. Belcock.
good, thank you. Okay, I think that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Christopher Mills, 52 Caroline Street. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for understanding the reason why I've had to ask a number of questions this year. I do have two questions. It is clear from answers given to my asking 3 direct questions that this administration is, quote, comfortable. Council meeting 29th of October. That is comfortable asking staff to perform work for which they may not be appropriately qualified. For someone who is not a council employee, such as myself, such an answer raises more questions. Were the elected members, including the current mayor, comfortable to endorse this policy of staff being instructed to perform work or giving opinions that are beyond their level of competence, and thereby trespassing on the fields of consultants, qualified arborists, and licensed landslip risk practitioners? That is the question.
I will take that as opinion, Mr Mills, thank you. Did you have a question?
Yes, I have another question.
Thank you.
The current administration has stated that, quote, generally we accept classifications made by the state government. Council meeting 29th of October. The state government has confirmed that my home and the adjoining landslip hazard zone are in a bushfire impact area. This administration has declined to accept the state government's classification. However, this administration must accept Section 61 of the Fire Service Act, Tasmania 1979. It is a Chief Fire Officer's duty to recommend to responsible landholders and responsible councils to reduce the risk of fire by not using combustible products such as wood chips and pine bark as mulches near to homes in bushfire impact areas. On the 19th of March, a staff member who this administration admitted at the meeting of the 29th of September does not hold any certification from Tas Fire, sanctioned the spreading of 800 metres squared of combustible wood chips next to my home and against my 70 metre long by 1.5 high wooden boundary fence. Will this administration now act responsibly and clear this fire risk of combustible wood chips at least 2 metres away from my boundary fence? That is the question.
Thank you, Mr Mills. Mr Mills.
Yeah, look, through you, Mayor, there's been a considerable amount of correspondence between Councillor and Mr Mills, and we're comfortable with the action that Council's taken, and we don't intend to remove the mulch that's been put in place.
Thank you. Did you have a third question, Mr Mills?
Well, with your permission, Your Mayorship, I do have a sort of supplementary question, seeing the first question won't be answered. This is the third question then. Does the General Manager hold any formal qualification as an arborist, and is he competent and experienced in tree management? That is the third question.
Yeah, it's through you, Mayor. Like we previously advised Mr Mills, Council have staff with the necessary qualifications and experience to undertake the work that they've done on that piece of land next to Mr Mills' property.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr Mills.
So I didn't quite understand, was that an answer?
Yes, it was. Thank you, Mr Mills. Are there any other questions from the gallery?
Malcolm Garden, 4 by my drive, on dinner.
Is the probable place short-term hire agreement with Isla Bar and Grill a pay-as-used hire arrangement?
I'll ask, sorry, would you just repeat that question?
Yeah, the probable place, it's a short-term hire agreement as against a lease arrangement with Isla Bar and Grill. Is that a pay-as-used hire arrangement? Like it's not a formal commercial lease, but you've already confirmed that to me.
Mr. Skirvin.
Does it pay as used?
Thank you, Mr. Garden. Mr.
Yes.
Skirvin, would you like to
That's okay.
respond?
Yeah, through you, Mayor. So the use of that premises on the hire arrangements invoiced to the occupant on a periodic basis.
Thank you.
Is that a pay-as-used arrangement? You say periodically invoiced. If it's a regular payment, it would be regularly invoiced, I imagine, monthly. You're saying periodically, so is it a pay-when-used arrangement?
Yes.
For clarification, Madam Chair.
So through you, Mayor, it's not invoiced in advance, if that's the question. So we're obviously aware of the occupancy date that we agreed for the business to commence operating out of the tenancy, and that would be incorporated into invoicing on a periodic basis. With that, council has other business dealings with that particular business entity, and I'd expect that they'd be incorporated into periodic invoicing.
Thank you, Mr. Skirvin. Did you have another question, Mr.
I
Garden?
just still find that doesn't answer the question.
I can answer that.
Periodically in arrears, so it's periodically in arrears when used. That's all I'm asking. It's not difficult.
I think through there, I think what Mr. Garden was inferring is he only paying for the venue when he uses it? And the answer to that is no, it's a set amount.
Okay, periodically invoiced.
Regardless of whether he uses it or not, that's right.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Through your Madam Chair. Thank you. Is the probable place indoor market area still being provided gratis to Paul Fielding to promote, or has that ceased now that the council has engaged a consultant to advise on the venue?
Mr. Skirvin, do you want to respond, or do you want to take it on notice?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. Is the probable place indoor market area still being provided gratis to Paul Fielding to promote, or has that ceased now that council has engaged a consultant to advise on the venue?
Through you, Mayor, I'm not aware that council's ever had an agreement with Paul Fielding regarding promotion of the event space at Probable Place.
Thank you. Did you have another question, Mr. Garden?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you. I asked in the current agenda, for the purpose of listing tenant matters related to Probable Place to be discussed in closed session, council refers to tenancy 1, 2 and 3. Will council confirm the names of the actual businesses the above references relate to? The response is, when possible, the business name and related tenancy will be noted in the table referencing closed session items. Now, while the response is welcome and will be a big help if done, the actual question has not been answered. So accordingly, will council please confirm the tenancy number for each of the following for what was described as going to be an overall visitor attraction with a 7-day-a-week fresh produce market and 4 upmarket restaurants, currently being Southern Wild Distillery as the remaining original tenant, but without a formal lease agreement after being open for almost 2 years. Is that tenancy 1?
Yes, through you, Mayor. No, it's tenancy 5.
Okay, tenancy 5, thank you. We'll just, an easy way to fix this, so you're right again. The former Charlotte Jack restaurant estimated costing council over $400,000 for tenants.
Mr. Garden, we've heard you give us the details of each of those. If you want to ask which one, who.
I've already done that, Madam Chair, with all due respect. I've done that and it hasn't been answered.
Okay, but we don't need the
this
commentary.
way.
We don't need the commentary, Mr. Garden. If you want to ask each who's tenanted each 1, 2 and 3, then ask that. We don't.
I've already asked that and it wasn't answered, Madam Chair. So if you don't mind, with all due respect to me, I'd like to ask it this way.
You may ask.
Thank you. The former Charlotte Jack restaurant estimated costing council over $400,000 for tenant-specific requirements and fit-out for a facility that many in the trade.
Again, Mr. Garden, we don't need the commentary. If you want to ask a question, ask the question.
Okay, even the page could be secluded. and now occupied on a short-term hire agreement by Ola Food and Bar. Tenancy number 2, I think, was in the agenda, if I picked that up correctly last time. I think it was in September. So that's tenancy 2. According to the agenda, it was. You take my word.
That's right, through you, Mayor.
Yeah.
I think I can answer probably all of your future questions as well. Yeah, and possibly we may have
Thank you, Mr. Garden.
Thank you.
we may have misunderstood Mr. Garden's question that he provided on notice. So if I understand correctly, you're trying to understand which tenancies are numbered, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So Pintail Kitchen is number 1, is in the far corner. The next one around the former Charlotte Jack, the old bar tenancy, is tenancy 2. The big vacant one in the middle is tenancy 3. The small one off the back of that tenancy is tenancy 5. The one with, tenancy 6. The one where red line is tenancy 4. Charlotte Jack is tenancy 5. Southern Wild is tenancy 5.
Yeah.
And the one that Taz TAFE upstairs is tenancy 7.
That wasn't too hard, no, it's got to be quite easy to answer before, wasn't it?
But that wasn't the question that you asked.
Yeah, that's right. The question on notice was, could we put in the title going into closed session the name of the business next to the tenancy to which you refer? And
Will council confirm the names of the actual businesses the above references relate to? Tenancy 1, 2 and 3.
Thank you, Mr. Garden. Did you have another question?
No, that was all. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the gallery? No? Moving along. Questions on notice from councillors. Item 3.3, there are none at the time of compiling the agenda, and item 3.4, there are no notices of motion. Item 3.5 are additional planning items, and I need a motion to bring those 2 planning items, 4.1 and 4.2, onto our agenda, please.
So moved.
Councillor Milborn, Councillor Hollister. Councillor Milborn, any comments?
No, nothing further.
Thank you. Councillor Hollister?
No, these need to be dealt with
Thank
in
you.
the timeline, so nothing further, right?
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor?
Closed.
No one to close, thank you. I'll put motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any against? Motion's carried unanimously.
Oh, sorry. That's all. I was looking there.
Item 4 is planning authority matter. In that case, I announce that council intends to act as a planning authority under the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act of 1993 for the consideration of agenda items 4.1 and 4.2. Council is required by Regulation 8.3 of the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulations of 2015 to deal with items as a planning authority under the LUPA 1993 in a sequential manner. The following items are to be dealt with at the meeting of council in its capacity as a planning authority. Has everyone moved to the item in their agenda? Item 4.1 is 55 Melrose Road, Aberdeen, a 2-lot subdivision. Do I have a mover of the recommendation? Councillor Perry, thank you. Councillor Alexia, Councillor Perry.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Look, a relatively straightforward division of 1 block into 2. It's called a subdivision. There was one representation against the application, noting some concerns not relevant to, in the main, not relevant to the determination of the application. So, my view, fairly straightforward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Alexia.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. Yeah, there's quite a fair few stipulations put in place for this lot of land, but it's all good to go.
Thank you. Are there any other comments, questions? Councillor Perry to close.
Consider it closed.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any against? Motion's carried unanimously. Item 4.2 is the second planning supplementary agenda item, which is PA 2020.0198, 87A Hillcrest Road, Devonport, residential subdivision, multiple dwellings. Do I have a mover, please?
Move.
Councillor Hollister, do I have a seconder?
I'll second.
Thank you, Councillor Milburn. Councillor Hollister.
Yes, there's quite a few appeals against this subdivision. I believe that they're all answered in the recommendations and conditions on the application, so I support the recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Milburn.
Yes, after reading through the issues that the residents have on Hillcrest Road, I can't see a really valuable reason why this can't go through. The councillor has done a great job with the recommendation and the acceptable solutions to the performance criteria. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Councillor Perry first.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Yeah, there were some issues raised, mainly around increased traffic and quality of life. I think they've been answered adequately. The increased traffic has been considered as part of an assessment of the application and was found to be compliant. And in regard to quality of life, planning legislation in Tasmania seeks to ensure quality of life is not negatively impacted through compliance with planning schemes. So we're not in the business of, I guess, decreasing people's quality of life. So, and the planning scheme, that's fine under the planning scheme. So I read again, have no choice, not the right word. We are advised to act under the planning scheme, which we are, and apart from that, it's reasonably straightforward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jarman.
Thank you. Yeah, I've got some questions, if that's all right, just to clarify some things. Through you to Ms. Munson, thank you. The first one's about larger vehicles, if they're allowed. Now, I know on page 72, there is an example of 2 cars length given to us. A lot of people drive these big Hiluxes and all these huge four-wheel drives, and we're having trouble parking at Kmart nowadays because they're an old style car park space. I'm sure that we need to be complying with the new style of spaces that we've got to have. That turning circle in the back is very small. Has that allowed for larger vehicles? What most people drive nowadays?
Mayor, our engineering department have assessed it as being compliant with the Australian standards, so we're not obliged to require the applicant to provide anything further than that.
So what other, do we know what the standards are? Is it just a normal vehicle size?
Yeah, I can't answer that off the top of my head, to be honest, Alderman Jarman, but I guess the Australian standards are there for a purpose, and it's compliant for the general requirements for that type of parking.
Okay, thank you. It's the smallest end of part of the block, and it does look very, very narrow. My other question was, have they allowed for large vehicles to park in the spaces as well? I mean, there's 22 car spaces. One's obviously a garage as well as their own extra space. There's 3 visitor spaces. Do they allow for large vehicles? I mean, this is going to be, 22 vehicles at least, 25 car spaces.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. Once again, the Australian standard takes that car size into consideration. We can't require the applicant to provide larger than what the standard requires.
Okay. The other question I've been asked to raise was how, I think we call it Unit 1. I was a bit confused. Is that the original house or is that the first unit being built?
The original house.
It's never going to be called Unit 1. Up the front of that, they've got 2 spaces for parking for the unit, but there's a very narrow area in shaded, but there's another area, and I don't know if that's part of the block or not, but it's a very small, narrow area that's literally driving over the top of another car. I was asked how that works. That's on page 70, at the front of that diagram. It just doesn't make sense to me looking at it, but someone might have some clarity on.
Could you make sure the microphone's on?
Sorry. I don't know why it's turning off. Sorry. I'm just asking for clarity on that front diagram.
Through you, Madam Mayor, there is 2 separate crossovers there, Alderman Jarman. Did you notice that?
Oh, so
you
they can come in the
simply just
front
drive straight into it.
not to the side. Okay, and the space next to that is the rubbish collection point, so that's going to be a big rubbish collection point for a private person, a private contractor. So where do the 22 bins go, the recycling bins and the action units?
Through you, Mayor, the report states that the garbage will be collected by a private contractor, so the private contractor will go down and pick it up from each of the units.
Yeah, so the question I was asked to ask tonight was, where are those wheelie bins going to be stored by the unit holders?
Through you, Mayor, the tenants in the units will be responsible for storage of those.
Okay. There just seemed to be a lot of space for 22 bins. Okay, no worries. And the last question. What is it? It was about the motorcycle. We were asking for an extra motorcycle. Is that going to go down the front, do we think? There's not
Through
enough
you,
room.
Madam Mayor, that'll be up to the developer to nominate that on the plan and provide approval once they provide an amended plan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Murphy?
Thank you, Mayor. I think in relation to a number of these matters, when the council acts as planning authority, we are guided by the planners and everything else. And as long as the application can meet the performance criteria, realistically, we don't have too many other options but to support that. And the recommendation is to support it, which is something that we should do.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Councillor Hollister, to close the debate.
Yes, I looked at this block of land probably 15 years ago. And I'm pleased to see it finally come forward and get developed. It's been sitting there vacant for a long time. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any against? I'll ask for a show of hands. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Councillor Perry, Councillor Laycock, Councillor Alexio, Councillor Milborn, Councillor Hollister, Councillor Ennis, Councillor Murphy, Councillor Rockcliffe. Those against? Councillor Jarman. The motion is carried. Thank you. We will go back to the agenda.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm back on page 18 of the agenda. Item 5 is reports. Item 5.1 is an update on the pedestrian strategy. Do I have a move to recommendation, please?
So,
Councillor Laycock, Councillor Jarman, Councillor Laycock.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, it is all there in the report, but I'd just like to add how good the city's looking with these new updates on the pedestrian facilities, new footpaths. It's we're beginning to look a lot like a big city. The Williams City at the front of the Paranacle linking up the Gold Acre Street, the trees. It's as they'd say, a sight to behold. Very happy with the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jarman.
Yeah, it's good that we're getting better at what we do and we're improving all the time. And again, the coastal pathway between Ambleside and Latrobe is just looking amazing. And I see Latrobe looking forward and budgeting for a little bit more erosion in the future, so that they're going to look after that as well. So it's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Laycock to close. Oh, apologies, Councillor Alexio.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to say that the city is actually growing quite large, and this will participate a large role in the community. And I guess going forward, there's going to be a lot more of these sort of attractions going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Councillor Laycock.
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing really to add, but I just love seeing all the extra trees we're planting in the city. It's looking very good.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any against? Motion's carried unanimously. Item 5.2 is use of land at 260 Steele Street. We have a recommendation there. Do I have a move?
So moved.
Councillor Jarman, do I have a seconder? Councillor Murphy. Councillor Jarman.
There's been a lot of work on this. We put this to a workshop. There was a lot of discussion, and I think we came up with the best plan going forward for three great community groups really to work together in the same space. I hope it's something that's going to turn out to be a really great idea. Well done to Ms Hampton for all the work she's done on this. And I think that this is the best way going forward, and looking forward to seeing what they do on them. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Murphy.
I concur with Councillor Jarman. Workshop thoroughly, good outcome for the community.
Thank you. Are there any other comments, questions? No. Councillor Jarman to close.
Consider it closed.
Thank you. Motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any against? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Item 5.3 is Devonport Motor Show Partnership Agreement. Do I have a move, please?
So moved.
Councillor Hollister. Councillor Ennis, thank you. Councillor Hollister.
This is a very good community event. It's been well supported in the past and hopefully it'll be just as good this time. Nothing further to add.
Thank you. Councillor Ennis.
Yes, looking forward to getting it back on the road again.
Worked hard at that one, Councillor Ennis. Well done. Are there any other comments, questions? Councillor Perry?
Yeah, I concur with the previous two speakers, and this is probably one of the best events on our calendar, and the logistics and the work done behind it is done by another group of people, and they do a great job, so that's got to be a win for council. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments, questions? Councillor Hollister to close.
Consider it closed.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any against? Motion's carried unanimously. Ms Peebles, would you ask Councillor Murphy to? I won't bang the gavel. Thank you. Item 5.4 is the annual general meeting guidelines. Do I have a move of recommendation, please?
So moved.
I think Councillor Perry, seconded Councillor Murphy.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Perry.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I think the guidelines put some structure around our meetings, some refined structure and defined structure. If that structure hasn't been there in the past, there is a potential for the meeting to filibuster into the early hours of the morning. And we would not be able to do anything about that. So there needs to be some structure. I think our AGM this year was perhaps the best we've had in my time on council, because I thought that the notices of motion that came to the meeting were published in advance and created and stimulated a lot of interest amongst ratepayers. And I think we need to go with that, and I hope everyone supports it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Mayor. Having considered this over a lengthy period of time, I think it makes good common sense, but also it increases the level of transparency in relation to getting community involved in the AGM. It was publicised in the Advocate not long after the Central Coast's AGM, and only had 3 people turn up. And I suppose it's testament to the fact that people knew what was on our agenda, and it provides the community the opportunity to either come and support whatever notices of motion have been put forward, to either support them or to come and voice their opinion against them. I think it's the next level in relation to, again, Devonport City Council being a leader in setting these, extremely high standards of governance, which in the past there has been some issues with. And I think this is a proactive step to actually sort of becoming, a real leader in this sort of space. I think what it does is it does provide the opportunity, if we get this decision wrong, there is the opportunity at the next AGM, by going through this process, to actually put a notice of motion up to rescind this. And if the community wants to do that, well, they'll turn out and they'll support that. I think that this is a good way forward and provides the opportunity for the entire community to become involved at that particular meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Councillor Hollister.
Yes, I'm definitely supporting the recommendation. I think state organisations, Australian organisations and even internationally support the principles of what we're doing here, so I don't have any problem with it whatsoever.
Thank you. Councillor Jarman.
Thank you. I suppose I will say I don't mind getting a notice of motion in writing ahead of time so that we can look into it, research. I've got no problems with that. But I just would like some clarity from the General Manager, if I may. When we call it guidelines, it's not rules. So guidelines are a guide. Does that mean that they're strictly what must be followed, or is it just a guide? I know this might be, it's not a play on words, I'm just asking for some clarity.
Yes, through you, Mayor. The intention is that these guidelines would be published in the agenda for the annual general meeting. Ultimately, I guess the chair of the meeting has power to make the decision that she thinks is most, or he thinks is most appropriate at that point.
Okay.
That's the ultimate power.
Because guidelines are something you choose to follow, but you don't have to follow. But rules, is there a reason why we just decided not to call them rules, or would we have to do something differently to put that into place?
No, it's through you, Mayor. I don't see any difference in this instance between the word guidelines and rules.
Okay.
Because what we publish as the agenda would be how we run the meeting. Did you have something else, Councillor Jarman?
Thank you.
Councillor Alexio?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, my fellow councillors will know that I totally disagree with this. I just spoke with her in the last workshop. You know, we had our issues in 2019 when we had a code of conduct complaint. This year we had our AGM and it was abruptly stopped pretty much straight away, the point of order. We need to get this right. And I will not be supporting this recommendation for a number of reasons, which include, but not limited to the following. The conduct of the AGM is a significant matter to anyone wanting to raise an issue with council. As you're aware, the community is asking why the change. And why wasn't there any community consultation regarding it? We're here to represent, respond to the public and enact in the best interest and their representatives in an open council, which doesn't behind the veil of secrecy to make our lives more comfortable. If we cannot be open and transparent and confront our detractors or supporters in an immediate, open manner, perhaps some of us should not be here. Not so long ago, the communist regime of China said to its detractors that anyone that complained over its internal affairs, I would, and I quote, pluck their eyes out. Sorry. This should be an open and transparent council, not run by dictatorship. If we look at these guidelines that have been set, I look at the first one raised. Number one is the annual general meeting will be conducted in a manner similar to an ordinary council meeting. The AGM is not like an ordinary council meeting. The guidelines that were set by us originally came to us. I looked at them and I studied them very carefully. Item 2 was raised at our last workshop. The Mayor will chair the meeting in her absence, the Deputy Mayor. I'm glad it's been rectified because gender-specific drafting went out a long time ago. Motions. This is the one that's probably the one that's been raised to my attention quite regularly from ratepayers. Motions. A. Motions must be submitted by advertised cut-off date for inclusion in the agenda. Motions other than that related to existing agenda item will not be accepted. So if we look at our local government division, annual general meeting, good practice guidelines. The first paragraph in that reads, the primary purpose of a council annual general meeting is to allow the public to ask questions about the contents of the council annual general report and provide an opportunity for electors to make any relevant motions for council to consider at the next ordinary council meeting.
Point of order, man. Could I just ask Councillor Alexio if what is being proposed tonight is going to be contrary to that particular point that you just read?
Councillor Alexio, did you want to respond to that?
Sorry, Councillor Murphy, what was that question again, please?
If you could just clarify for me in relation to what is being proposed tonight, where that will prohibit members of the community being able to do exactly what you just said from the local government division's guidelines.
Where is that we're not taking motions from the floor at the annual general meeting. Correct?
But the wording of that particular, what we're doing is we're only providing a set of guidelines for the community to adhere to or to comply with in relation to being able to ask questions of council in relation to its annual general report or any other questions or notices of motion. But all we're asking is that it's done the week prior to, so the entire community has the opportunity to see what those motions are thereof.
Thank you. Did you want?
Well, as we just spoke about before, Councillor Jones just raised the issue. Is it guidelines or is it a set rules?
Yeah, again, but I still believe that what we're actually doing is still compliant with the intent of the first paragraph of those rules that you've read out.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. I'm afraid I can't let you just speak unless Councillor Alexio hasn't finished. I'll let you have the floor, Councillor Alexio.
Yes, Councillor. Let me continue. In speaking to the motion, you may only speak once a minute, maximum of 3 minutes. Again, if we look at the information that's provided by the Local Government Act, the period of time a person will be able to address the chair, ask questions, to speak to a motion, ordinarily 3 to 5 minutes, or extended time if granted. These guidelines are saying that we're giving the public 3 minutes to put their questions towards our council. I disagree with that as well. So there's a few items in the AGM guidelines that I do disagree with, and I know probably some of the other councillors won't agree with me, but I've studied this very carefully over the weekend and I've gone through it. I'm not happy with it. I know the General Manager just put it through one of our workshops when we were talking about it, but we didn't get these guidelines before the AGM.
Were you finished, Councillor Alexio?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Ennis.
Thank you. I'm in favour of these rules, guidelines, because I think it's important that the netball community have the opportunity to consider and discuss prior to and be aware of what's going on. If it's in the agenda, it's out there in the open, and people can come along, and if it's something that they're interested in, it'll bring the numbers out. And I think that's really important. If they find that they don't care too much for it, we'll be like Central Coast, there will be 1 or 2 people here. But I think the opportunity for people to come out is very important. And those guidelines, we're not halting questions. I think that's the key thing. The questions are still there to be asked, and we welcome people to ask questions. That's what it's for. And come along, say your bit, have other people there to either support you or not in terms of what they think when they see what's on the agenda. So I'm happy with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Councillor Laycock.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm in favour of this motion. Councillor Alexio has just suggested that we need to get this right. Well, I think we've got it right. And Councillor Alexio made comments about the questions. Well, ratepayers can still ask questions. That's been said. So nothing's changed there. Now, motions are to be provided prior to the meeting for inclusion in the agenda. Now, if one isn't prepared to do this, then I have to ask why. We've been accused on several occasions for not being transparent. So if you're serious about your motion and want the best debate on the night, provide the motion and let's get on with it. The deleterious comments that continually are articulated by a minority group of individuals that deliver nothing but sarcastic comments when we, the councillors, are doing our best to make the Devonport community the top community on the North West Coast. Therefore, I don't think it's too much to ask for those that wish to submit motions to do so in a correct and timely manner. If you're not happy with this, may I suggest, in the way that we run in the council and the city, put your hand up and stand at the next election. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Laycock. Any other comments, questions? Councillor Perry to close. Thank you.
Thanks, Madam Mayor, and thank you everyone for your contribution. I'll just reiterate a couple of points. This idea that the public are being muzzled is just rubbish. There is ample time in question time to raise questions, and if the second point is, and that can go on for as long as need be, if 50 people want to ask 3 questions or whatever it is, then so be it, we'll take it. As far as notices of motions go, if anyone's seriously interested in the events of council or what council's doing, and they can't get a motion in within a week of the AGM, then they're not serious. There's something else, there's some other agenda going on. So I think the guidelines cover both those more than adequately, and as I said, we need some defined structure, otherwise it will descend into what happened in 2019, and we don't want that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against?
No.
No.
I will ask for a show of hands. Those in favour: Councillor Perry, Councillor Laycock, Councillor Milborn, Councillor Hollister, Councillor Ennis, Councillor Murphy, Councillor Rockcliffe. Those against: Councillor Alexio, Councillor Jarman. The motion is carried. Thank you. Item 6.1, workshops and briefing sessions report from since the last meeting. Do I have a mover, please?
I move.
Councillor Hollister, Councillor Laycock, Councillor Hollister.
Very good workshops, a few things coming up in the next 12 months or so, which will be very interesting.
Thank you, Councillor.
Very good for the community.
Thank you, Councillor Hollister. Councillor Laycock.
Nothing to add, Nick.
Any comments, questions? Councillor Hollister to close.
Very close.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any against? Motion's carried unanimously. Item 6.2 is the Mayor's report for this month. Do you have a mover, please?
Moved.
Councillor Perry, thank you. Seconder. Oh, sorry, Councillor Alexio. Sorry, I just heard a voice. Councillor Alexio, do I have a seconder, please?
I'll second.
Councillor Milborn, thank you. Councillor Alexio.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We can see you're always very busy. Doing a great job there. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Milborn.
May I ask how the indie school's going?
The indie school's doing amazing work. They're doing some amazing things. Some of the stories of success over this year has been really heartwarming. It was wonderful to attend their end-of-year event, and they're looking to almost double their enrolments for next year, and they're very grateful for the space and the contribution that council's made to what they've been able to do in our city.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Ennis.
Thank you. I just wondered if you could fill us in on what Shane Broad and Anita Dow might have enlightened you with.
Well, it was more the other way around, Councillor Ennis.
It would have been.
Careful, Councillor Perry. It was a general catch up on a range of things, a couple of things that we had concerns about, and a couple of things that we wanted to bring to their attention, and yeah, just a general catch up on where the city's sitting at the moment.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Alexio to close.
Consider it closed.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any against? Motion's carried unanimously. Item 6.3 is the General Manager's report for this month. Do I have a mover, please?
So moved.
Councillor Laycock. A seconder, please.
Seconded.
Councillor Murphy. Thank you. Councillor Laycock.
Look, it's all there in the report. It's very easy to see that the General Manager's been very busy as usual, so I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Murphy.
Yeah, nothing further.
Any comments, questions of the General Manager, Councillor Alexio?
Yes, Madam Mayor, just the General Manager, just the state and federal government programs, listed there with the Mayor, met with Shane Broad and Mayor Dowd to discuss the Living City Sound and Light Show and the replacement of the Spirit of Tasmania ferries. I just wanted to ask how that went, or if you can add any more information to that.
It was the same visit that we just discussed, but I'm happy for the General Manager to enlighten you if he has anything to add.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. I guess, we just talked with the members about our concerns around the spirits and the uncertainty around the replacement of those vessels. And in regard to the light and sound show, just looking for their support for seeking government funding to progress that, and they were certainly very, their feedback was encouraging.
Councillor Forster?
It's a question to the General Manager, or maybe even the Mayor. Taswater, do you think we'll ever get to a dividend, or is it all going to go straight to state revenue, which is probably what was actually set up 15, 20 years ago by the Treasurer at the time?
I probably don't have a lot to add.
I was going to say through you. Through you, Mayor, the 5-year corporate plan that was recently endorsed for Taswater did show a return to dividends in 21, 22 financial years. So if they achieve that, there will be a dividend payment.
Thank you. Councillor,
Further questions, if I may?
you may. Sorry, Councillor Innes, I'll come to you.
It's good to see that Darwin Waste Management is still returns to council. Makes go on forever, and that the state government doesn't get at us when they start putting additional levies on waste management in the state.
Thank you, Councillor Holster. I'll take that as comment rather than a question. Councillor Innes.
A couple of questions. The medical facility in Old Acre Street, what's the go with that?
I don't have this.
Yes, through you there, the doctor who's proposing to develop that site just came and gave the Mayor and I an update. He's recently had a DA approved, and he's hoping to start construction early in the new year.
Thank you. And secondly, I noticed that the local government minister came and saw you. What, anything, if anything, did they enlighten you? Surely on the...
Yes, through you, Mayor. That was part of my role on the board of local government professionals, the state board. So the minister met with the board and just a general update on current local government matters, including the Act review, the review of the Fire Services Act, talked about charitable rates, the code of conduct, so just a number of topical local government matters.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Further question, if I may?
You may.
The doctor's facility in Old Acre Street, probably the plan is actually, did they have to comply with parking, or are they in an exemption zone? Well, previous, I know that a previous doctor's facility that actually moved when they realised that they had to supply parking. So I'm just wondering how this one goes with the parking situation.
Through you,
Thank you, Ms.
the
Munson.
application for planning component was discretionary, but it was approved. They're actually providing policy in that parking, off-street parking.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Councillor Chapman?
Is it in Old Acre Street, or is it the one in Steel Street? Okay, it's in Old Acre.
Yes, thank you. Councillor Perry, sorry.
That's right. Thanks, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I think it's probably an opportune time to also commend the General Manager on this report and 11 others this year. It's probably been, well, it has been an incredibly tough year, and I can't think of a tougher year for General Manager than 2020. Across a range of fronts, the obvious one was the interruption from COVID and how agile we had to be to meet those demands. But I think when we had December 21, and our city is in great shape. That comes from leadership. And, you know, there's an old saying that no organisation outperforms its leader. And I think in this respect, we've been very lucky. So thank you, General Manager, and your team, of course, but it starts with you. And we're in great shape as a council, and I think we're in great shape as a city. I look forward to the next 5 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Perry. Are there any other comments, questions? Councillor Maycock.
Thank you, Mayor. There was mention of Anita Dow, Member of the Parliament, around the room as part of the General Manager's report. I'd just like to commend Anita Dow. Recently in Parliament, she gave a great speech about Home Hill, and she encouraged all the other members of Parliament, from whatever side of politics they were from, to support Home Hill and to visit. So I just want to put that on record, that this council and Home Hill are very thankful for what she did. And I must just say, with your meeting with Mark Shelton's name come up, that I think we're very lucky at any time when we've got a Minister for Local Government who has been a mayor within the system, because I think that certainly makes him help our matters, you know, what we're going in about. So I think that would have been a very good meeting. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Robert. The motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any against? Motion's carried unanimously. Item 6.4 is unconfirmed minutes of Crown Coast Authority Reps meeting. Can I have a mover of the recommendation, please?
So,
Councillor Jarman, do I have a seconder?
Second.
Councillor Alexio, thank you. Councillor Jarman.
That's all there, thank you.
Councillor Alexio,
Nothing further, Madam Mayor.
any comments, questions? Councillor Jarman to close.
Consider it closed.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any against? Motion's carried unanimously. Item 6.5 is unconfirmed minutes of the Devonport City Council's audit panel meeting. Do I have a move of the recommendation, please?
So moved.
Councillor Murphy, a seconder.
I'll second it.
Councillor Perry, thank you. Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Mayor. Merely procedural, but it is worth noting that a presentation by the Deputy General Manager, Mr. Jeff Griffiths, to that particular committee was very enlightening, especially for the independent members, which Councillor Perry and myself are also members of. And it was around the success of the IT rollout that the Devonport City Council has embarked upon over the last 2 to 3 year period. And I think it was that's seen this particular council come through COVID a lot better than most. And one of the key points there was that you wouldn't have known the council was actually closed. We were able to do what we did. And I think it's worth making that known very publicly in relation to the efforts and the efficiencies that, and now we are being looked at by other councils. And I think the fact that we're actually going to be a smarter council than the other council, and especially in the North West Coast region, it does put us in good stead.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Councillor Perry.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Yeah, well, I certainly support, endorse Councillor Murphy's comments. Everyone in the room would know that the audit panel is responsible for oversight of council's governance. And this year, there's certainly no issues, or there's no outstanding issues that we need to concern ourselves with. So the chairman of the audit panel is fastidious. It was probably one way of describing our chairman, and he's across everything. And yeah, he was impressed. He's very impressed with how we're tracking from a governance, finance level. And again, due to the general manager and his senior team, that we're in that position. So well done to all. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any comments, questions? Councillor Hollister.
Yes, at the weekend I was actually talking to the CEO of Cradle Coast Authority and got exactly the same impression from him as to how our IT is working as a council. So it's obviously well known along the North West Coast, and hopefully it'll be better around the state in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments, questions? Councillor Murphy, close.
Consider it closed, mate.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any against? Motion is carried unanimously. Item 6.6 is the Infrastructure and Works Report. Do I have a move of the recommendation, please? Councillor Jarman, and seconder.
I'll second.
Councillor Milburn, thank you. Councillor Jarman.
just love the fact that we reused the old Christmas tree and put it into proper place. Well done, council, using what we've got. And reusing is a big thing that I love to see. So I'd like to mention it every time we do it because it's a really great thing. And the new tree looks beautiful.
Thank you. Councillor Norton.
Thank you. We're doing some amazing things around the town. It's good to see the All Abilities playground that is now open. That's a wonderful playground. It gives three pieces of equipment for all abilities to play on. And it's very inclusive, so well done. Quick question, if I may, to the GM. The mould looks amazing with the poles and everything getting painted and all the Christmas decorations up. My kids love it, it's beautiful. Just wondering if we're going to paint the seats and the plant boxes the same as the poles.
Yes, through you, Mayor. I don't believe there's anything in this year's budget for that.
Councillor. Mr Scurvy, do you have something to add?
Through you, that was one of the items picked up as part of the cost-saving exercise due to the restrictions on the capital budget this year. Those planners and some other signage was actually due for renewal or pulled out of the budget.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ennis.
It's very good to see that the Bluff Beach has got the fixing up that ramp. It's been a worry that it's full of shingles a lot, and it makes it really hard for people to use it to get in and out. So I look forward to seeing how this works out to keep back the shingle and hopefully make it easier for people to get onto the beach.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I'm very surprised by some of my fellow councillors. They didn't mention the fact that we've now got our electric vehicle charging station up and running.
Yeah, just a point of order, they were waiting for you to say it, councillor.
Oh, no, it's great. I've noticed a couple of Teslas rolling around town at the moment, so at least we've got somewhere for them to go. So I'm looking forward to seeing how often it's used, and it's a step forward.
Thank you. Councillor Jane.
I'm just closing it.
Sorry, yes. Yes, you are.
Well, I hope, Councillor Murphy, you come to the launch tomorrow for the charging station.
Absolutely.
See you there. Thank you, nothing further.
Thank you. I'll close the debate and put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any against? Motion's carried unanimously. Item 6.7. Is the Development and Health Services report. Do I have a mover, please?
So moved.
Councillor Milborn, thank you. Seconder.
Happy to second.
Councillor Alexia, thank you. Councillor Milborn.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to thank Ms Munson for her excellent work on this. She really works hard to provide such a detailed report every single time, and her knowledge and expertise is extremely well received. So thank you very much. Nothing further, ma'am.
Thank you, Councillor Alexia.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just concur with Councillor Milborn there that it's a great report and it's great for the city.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments?
Yes.
Councillor Ennis?
I think as part of that, I'm pretty certain the footpath along the foreshore, about where the path divides, that's great that that's being fixed because it's been really a dangerous spot with the path being uneven, and so well done.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Councillor Milborn to close.
Thank you very much for your comment, Councillor Ennis. To consider it closed.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any against? Motion's carried unanimously. Item 7 is section 23 committees, and 7.1 is planning authority committee meeting of the 7th.
So moved.
Councillor Perry,
Happy to second that, Minister.
Councillor Laycock, Councillor Perry.
Just procedural, Mayor, nothing to add.
Thank you. Councillor Laycock,
Nothing to add.
any comments, questions? Councillor Perry,
Consider it closed.
thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any against? Motion's carried unanimously. We now need a motion to move into closed session, please.
So moved.
Councillor Laycock, and seconder.
Seconded.
Councillor Milborn, thank you. Any comment, Councillor Laycock?
Nothing to add.
Councillor Milborn?
Nothing further.
Councillor Laycock to close.
Consider it closed.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any against? Motion's carried unanimously. Brings the open session of our meeting this evening to a close at 6:39. I thank you all for your attendance and look forward to seeing you all in the new year. Thank you.
Very good.